until my well runs dry. And all your sins all over me, baby, baby, baby.
Hey T Squad, I'm back with part 2 of my Teresa and Jennifer Aydin expose. In today's episode, we'll be checking out Melissa's Old Nose, the blogger that Teresa and Jennifer had doing a lot of their dirty work. And she exposes some of the worst things that Teresa asked her to do, plus the big secret and reveal that Teresa and Louis is going to expose this season on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Let's get into part 2. No.
And I think so
Weird. And what's crazy is people will believe anything that they read. They think that what bloggers say, what these blogs say is Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know these people. You know what I'm saying? So when I report on things, I try to do my due diligence to make sure that what I'm reporting is the truth, or at least as close to the truth. And if I don't know if it's the truth, I'm not going to say it's the truth. So people got to stop thinking that what they read on the blogs and on Twitter is factual. A lot of people just be saying stuff just to say stuff, or to clout chase, or to degrade somebody. It's crazy and it's sickening.
because they wanted to keep that platform, and they utilized me and mine in every. I mean, they violated it. They violated it. That's like the word, because they did. That platform did it all for them. That platform was in Danielle Cabral's father's Instagram DM. That platform, was doing digging on somebody who was
Wait a minute. So she's saying that she reached out to Danielle Cabral's father? Wow. So you know Teresa and Jennifer had her doing that, because Danielle is not friends with them anymore. See, this is what I be talking about, involving folks' families and stuff, trying to get dirt. It's just insanity.
a victim of domestic abuse. Like, how I came for Vanessa. I did so much for them. It's just so disgusting. Like if the whole story was really told and laid out there, I'm going slow and dripping my receipts, but if you guys saw everything that they had me do, you guys would like be so fucking disturbed. It's pretty dark.
Right. It's like this other account you mentioned, like they were already anti-Melissa and anti-Marge. And technically that is like the junior league because, right, if we have Vanessa and there's a court case and this is the real deal, that account let's protect, it sounds like you're saying, because like, great, they're anti-Melissa and Marge. That accomplishes all that. But now we need a real savage to go after like Vanessa and all the things that are like real, you know, when they're.
And if you don't know who Vanessa is Louis, Teresa's husband, ex, that accused him of DV and like stalking and just being crazy and all types of stuff. And allegedly this blogger is saying that Teresa had her trying to dig up any dirt that she could on this girl, tweet really bad things about this woman and all types of stuff. And I need for her to stop saying the stuff that they made her do. Girl, you are a grown woman. You did this stuff because you chose to. Nobody put a pow to your head once again. Like, Miss Girl, take accountability. You're grown. You did it because you wanted to and because you wanted to fit in with Teresa and them. So stop.
There's a court involved. That's the real deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was private investigators involved. They were posing as domestic violence victims. You know, I even think about that sometimes. I mean, it takes a lot for a woman who was beat by a man or, you know, abused to come forward and speak. Here are Teresa and Louis and their private investigator planting people to pose as domestic violence victims. Also, they can try to dig up dirt on an ex. I mean, and mind you, Louis is now married to Teresa Giudice, living with her. Like, why are you still trying to come for an ex? Why are you digging and digging to find something on this woman so you can take her license, so you can ruin her? So, I mean, I remember, and you were involved in this.
And Teresa's so dumb because it's like, what? Like, you married to me, but you still tripping off your ex? And why would you be going so hard against somebody if what they said about you is not true? Like, Teresa is so stupid.
David, I remember when I got a DM from Jim Leonard, and he's like, hey, did you just hear Behind the Velvet Rope? They said that they had just talked to Vanessa on the phone, and she mentioned how Louis was served with a restraining order when he got back from Puerto Rico. We need to get the date of if this was recorded on a Saturday, because you would drop on Saturday. If this was recorded that morning or if it was another day. They were trying to establish a timeline that they were going to use in court. And I remember I slipped into your DM. I don't know if you recall this. It was all rhonj facts. And I was like, hey, was this recorded this morning? Or did you guys just drop it this morning? I was trying to establish for Jim Leonard when you guys received that call from Vanessa. So, I mean,
and Jim, right, I get it. No, I mean, I know what you're talking about. It's almost like I was being manipulated too without even knowing it. But that was a situation where, and I don't even know what the meaning of this is really, because I tell people I don't even follow all this stuff off camera because I mean, I'm so busy. But right, it was a thing where it was dropped and then that was added per Vanessa calling. But I don't know who told her to call. I imagine her attorney, right? That's just what I like. The whole episode was recorded and the Vanessa stuff, I think, was added at the end. We had to come back on air, I guess, through her attorney, right? Because I don't, or was it through Jim Leonard? Or was it Jim Leonard that set that up? We're going to get into Jim Leonard in a second, you know?
Yeah, well, I remember I had to find the timeline for them because they were trying to get something situated legally behind the scenes. But this is what I mean. Like,
it's sick. It's just all sick.
Yeah, I was watching this woman. I knew they had put people in her practice to spy. I was over here reaching out to you and at the time your co-host to get information. I knew that I knew why Vanessa was serving a restraining order against this man, because they got caught that they planted people in her practice. I mean, and if she only knew at the time, I was spying on her since like Thanksgiving of 2022.
Like, that's so
So
weird. Like, you a grown woman spying on another woman that you don't even know for this reality star and her weirdo husband. Like, that is so creepy. Like, you're a stalker, ma'am. You, Teresa, Louis, Teresa's lawyer, y'all are crazy. Like, listen to yourself. Like, what? Like, so just imagine you're his ex, this Vanessa chick, and people are following your every move. That is just beyond me. Like, that is craziness.
it was just so like deep.
And if he
There
don't
was
stop
so much,
doing like
so
this,
many
like he got
layers
her.
people don't even know about. So like people see me as a hater account, like ratting out Teresa, that I'm on this like a vendetta tour against them. No, guys, there was like seriously some crazy fucked up shit going on behind the scenes, and I realized that it was beyond a show. It was no longer like gossiping or calling Margaret old. It was some serious stuff, and I don't want a part of it. But yeah, some of it did involve you, David, like trying to get things from you, just like how I was involved with trying to get things from everyone. You know,
And I
it's
mean,
insane.
and
It's
this is
insane.
why, people call me a flip flopper. This is why it's like, this isn't about me, but, I am not for the take, first of all, which is why I find it, a compliment that none of these people, Jim Leonard and none of these people would ever call me. People have tried, not them, to get me to put certain narratives out. Margaret's tried before too, but like behind the velvet rope is not for the take. There's no narrative. The narrative is what David observes that week, and it changes every week. But I agree, sometimes I think being a lawyer, when people slip in and ask me innocent questions, I'm like, I think, but I don't know the bigger picture. And by the way, also, I want to say, before everyone says that, like, why are we talking about Vanessa? That's such a thing of the past. It's not. I mean, Margaret was just on Jeff Lewis. This just came up last week with Margaret, or 2 weeks ago. She was on Jeff Lewis and Jeff brought it up. And then Vanessa's lawyer, Doug Anton, just made a statement again. So this is still going on. For everyone who's going to say, like, why are we still talking about this? It was from the past. It's
Yeah,
not.
well,
It just came out again.
and it's going to be very much current because Teresa's on every like she's on all these platforms. Entertainment Tonight, she's talking with Tori Spelling. She's all over the place doing press, and she keeps telling everyone the same thing. Oh, something big's going to come out. Something big's coming out. And what she's
I saw her
referring
say that.
to is when we see the scene, which we will towards the end of the season, or maybe they'll stick it in the middle. I don't know. But what she keeps referring to is that the world will find out that, yes, in fact, Vanessa was talking to Margaret Josephs and Joe Gorgon. It was admitted on the stand during this most recent trial against Vanessa in regards to Louis. So that's like their big bombshell. So for people who are like, why are we talking about Vanessa? Because it's very relevant, guys. Yes, that press release just came out, but Teresa's all over the place teasing the fact that we're going to find this tea that that we're talking about now. And it's so funny to me that she's going to make that like the moment to like vindicate Louis that, yes, in fact, Marge and Joe were talking to her. It's like, number one, if you have a family member who's dating someone and you're starting to see like and hear all these stories about that guy, like I know Joe Gorga and Teresa have had a rocky relationship, but don't you think like deep inside he's a little concerned when he hears the ex saying, hey, he did this to me. He put the other one through this. Like, as a human being, you will naturally be concerned. So I really do not think it's a bombshell that Joe Gorga talked to her, because who wouldn't? A concerned family member. I know they've had a rocky past, but I mean, I would want to know if my sister was dating someone shady. And then, like, in regards to Margaret, who gives a damn? Like, and they're like, the timeline doesn't make sense. That really big blogger, she just posted about how Margaret's timeline doesn't make sense. It's like, throw the fucking timeline out the window. Who gives a shit about the timeline? You guys were talking to Laura, number one. This guy was over here bashing her. Like, there's a bazillion reasons as to why I will personally justify Margaret talking to Vanessa. But the bigger picture, what everyone is forgetting here is that this man is a red flag. This man has a past. Those things are not lies. So, I mean, I know they're going to be like, Margaret's not going to be really concerned for Teresa. She hates her. But guess what? Margaret is going to be concerned who's in her house.
This is what I'll say about that. So she's telling us that this season, because Teresa has been doing a lot of press and she does keep on hyping up that it's going to be this big reveal that's going to out Margaret. Okay. I've seen her say this in an interview literally like in the last 2 weeks. So Melissa's old nose, this blogger, is saying that the big secret is that it comes out that Margaret and Joe Gorga did in fact reach out to Louis' ex, Vanessa. But the gag is we already know that. It's already been put out there. Margaret has already said that she talked to the girl or whatever. I frankly don't think that it's anything wrong with the fact that she reached out to this girl, considering everything that Teresa and Louis has done to Margaret. Reaching out to her best friend. Teresa had Danielle pulling this girl hair and all the other weirdo stuff that has been going on. I really don't think that it was wrong for Joe Gorga to reach out to her, especially when him and Teresa were still on good terms, when she first got with Louis, and all of us was looking like, you with this man who has been alleged of DV and stalking and being crazy. If I would be wondering too, like, what is going on here? Let me ask this lady, like, what's going on? But that's Teresa's big aha moment. I guess, girl. I guess.
And Louis been to her house. And wouldn't you want to know, David, who's coming into your house? So, I mean, there's many reasons why I justify these people talking to his ex. But some people are too small-minded to realize why.
And so, like, that is like this thing, because yes, Teresa does keep doing these interviews. She's like, you have to watch and see. She tells Billy Bush and everyone, like, that's this big thing. Like, we're gonna find out later in the season that, which first of all, isn't it already known that Margaret's? And again, there's no horse in this race for me. I got issues with all these people in the damn RHONJ, except for Jackie, pretty much. But just as a human being, Jackie and I have had wonderful exchanges, and I've never spoken to Cabral or Fuda, so I'm not including them. But you know, like, we already know Margaret is speaking to Vanessa. Like, that was 2 seasons. Like, that's all over social media already. The pictures and this and that. Yeah. But I mean, so that is now going to be on the TV. Like, that's this big spoiler that Teresa, like, we're going to find out she's been speaking to Vanessa.
Yeah. So the big thing. The big thing she keeps like fluffing is that so we're going to see a scene where Jim Leonard, again, you guys, I know we're going to get into Jim Leonard, but he very much is a big part of this season for many reasons. Not only was he orchestrating storylines behind the scenes,
and that's Teresa's attorney, just for people who don't know.
Yes. So not only was he orchestrating storylines behind the scenes on social media so it can make its way onto the show so Teresa could have a storyline, but he was also, I mean, and don't be surprised if we see him in confessionals, which is like the only RHONJ lawyer that has ever had confessionals. It's weird. We're going to see a scene when they're at Teresa's house, and Teresa's lawyer, Jim Leonard, is going to tell the girls, it was admitted on the stand that Vanessa Reiser was talking to Joe Gorga and Margaret Josephs. And then Teresa is going to get all emotional. She talks about her family, and they throw Vanessa under the bus and whatnot. So the scene Teresa keeps.
So she's letting us know once again what's going to happen verbatim. So if she's telling the truth, we're going to see this play out on the show, and that will confirm that this lady ain't lying. So we shall see. Remember this date. Remember what she said, how this is going to play out on the show.
Teasing in all her like little interviews is that scene. And really, like, Teresa and Louis are convinced that scene is going to make everybody love Louis and view him as a victim. Because it's like their so-called aha scene where we caught you, Margaret. But I mean, it was no secret that Margaret had talked to her. I love that Margaret's owning it. But again, I mean, if I'm going to work with you, if I'm going to film with you, if you're going to come into my like vicinity, I want to know who you are. So of course I'm going to talk to that ex. And another thing, like, here is a man who told the whole cast on national television that he hired a private investigator and he had folders on everybody.
Period.
So, I mean, all is fair game, I say.
Yes. And what about people who say, because, you know, the other, you know, we've seen these things and all this, the other side, what about the people who say, well, Vanessa's the crazy stalker? You know what I mean? Like that, because we've seen that argument, right? That, it was in court and it was ruled that, the restraining order should be against her, all of that stuff. Like, what do you say to that?
I say that she had plenty of reason to keep an eye on someone who threatened her the way he did, because she was fearful of what he could do. I mean, her tires were slashed. There's a violent history there.
Oh my
I
God.
say she had to keep her eye on him, because you don't know what someone like that is capable of. And for her security and for her own peace of mind, it was always, I guess, in her best interest to see where his, where he was walking, what he was doing, because she felt fearful. She had to keep an eye on him because he had threatened her so much to the point where she was living in fear. And wouldn't you want to know the person who threatened you, like their doings? I mean, I don't think she ever wanted to be like surprised by what he could be doing. I mean, they literally slashed the girl's tires. I mean, I know
And
personally,
he gonna do the same
dealing
thing
with
to
Louis,
Teresa.
how like out there he can be, how crazy he can be, and how scary he can be. I could only imagine like what Vanessa was going through all these years. And believe me, I was a fan. I was on their side. I was calling Vanessa the stalker. I was saying she was the weirdo, this and that. I now see it clear, and I do not blame this girl for protecting herself or doing what she has to do, because she was a victim. And unfortunately, Teresa and her camp have tried to flip the script on her.
What's like the most egregious, like when they asked you, and like who was it? Like, I mean, did you get mostly text calls? Like, how often was this? Like, how often? And was it just Teresa? So her lawyer, Jim Leonard, like we just
Teresa and I were texting every day. We were calling each other, talking to each other. I mean, there was times where we would go without talking, like a day or so, but we were constantly on the phone talking. We talked about absolutely everything from sex to the show. Like we talked about it all. There was nothing off limits. There was some things that came through text, but most of like the deep stuff was over the phone. And she would call me, she'd be like, hold on, let me get Jim on. And she would get him. So, especially in regards to Vanessa and the
That is pure insanity. There is so much more that this blogger reveals about Teresa, Louis, and Jennifer. So stick with me, you guys. I have part 3 coming for you guys tomorrow. Let me know what y'all think about what was spilled today, child. How y'all feeling about all of this? Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Please make sure to thumbs up this video, like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell button. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.